And that actually enabled us to get away. When I sobered up, I realized that this was the stupidest thing I ever done, and that this was really bad. And so that Christian thing kicked in, and I thought, you know, I gotta repent and take responsibility for this. This was pretty serious stuff. Matthew, he wasn't ready to give up, so he went on and did another armed robbery and actually had a cop pull a gun on him, and he gave up then. Me, I literally walked to the police station and turned myself in. I didn't quite make it. There was a cop who drove up behind me, and I just pulled out my knife and handed it to him and took responsibility. Now, Brad Love, how much time did he get for writing letters on Zionism?
18 months.
18 months. Now, for me, I got 2 armed robberies. I got 2 assault with a weapon. I think 1 armed robbery got dropped. I got convicted of 2 assault with a weapon and an armed robbery. I had all this criminal history before, trying to shoot out windows of police stations, theft, AWOLs. Basically, by now I got about 36 separate convictions, and I'm 19 years old. Take a guess how much time I got. Someone.
2 years.
Pardon?
2 years.
2 years. Anyone else?
3.
15 months. Because I was a disadvantaged kid. you know. Now, in a sense, I'm glad because I still have a lot of my life left. But honestly, I think I deserve 10 years. If I was a judge and I was looking at someone with that criminal history, that type of behavior, I'd give them 10 years. But this was Canada in the 80s under Trudeau, and it was pretty soft on crime. And it wouldn't be 10 years of our prisons. Like, I didn't actually learn anything in prison. You could put guys to work in prison. You could give them corporal punishment when they misbehaved, and you'd probably cut down on a lot of violence and stuff if there was serious consequences. But as it was, I didn't have many consequences. The only thing they had was segregation. And segregation doesn't scare you, but it does actually psychologically damage you in some ways. Now, they first sent me to a medium security prison that was very treatment oriented. It was called the Ontario Correctional Institute. At this point, I am reading the Bible, by the way, guys. You might wonder what the hell happened to that. It was still there, and God was changing my heart. Though if you looked at it, you'd think this is pretty rough work, and you'd be right. Now, when I went to the Ontario Correctional Institute, I got my first taste of liberal tolerance, I'd say. Because I kind of thought liberals were tolerant. And indeed, my social worker, hoped-to-be dad, who was trying to fix me with weed, he was tolerant. If I told him that I was, selling weed to hookers, he was pretty tolerant. If I told him that, if I get a girlfriend, I need to get her aborted, he'd be tolerant of that too. And if I told him I was going to be a Buddhist, he'd be pretty cool with that. Now, I found out that if you say, I want to be a Christian, and I think you should say sex to marriage, it's amazing how little tolerance there is. We had this liberal Anglican government-funded priest. One day we were sitting there, because I did have this desire to kind of find God, so I'd walk into his chapel, and there'd be 10 other inmates, and one day he was saying, homophobia is of the devil. And I thought, where the hell's that in the Bible? I did read the Bible, by the way, because I did spend a lot of time in the hole. I smacked one inmate on the head with a soap-hard sock when he tried to bully me and beat me up. I'd wind up in the hole for 5 days. And back in those days, you could only have the Bible. That's the only book you're allowed in the hole. So 5 days of 24-hour lockup, you read the Bible. And I'd say that ain't in the Bible. And got thrown out of his meeting. Never mind dialogue, I was just thrown out. Couldn't have that opinion. Anyways, obviously I wasn't going to get much in the way of spiritual direction from this guy. So I thought maybe the psychiatrist would help me. And I had a lot of rage, and I had a lot of anger, and I had a lot of negative, violent thoughts. And I knew they weren't good, and I wanted to get them out of my head. So I was incredibly honest to this psychiatrist at the Ontario Correctional Institute. And then I learned another lesson. A government employee is a government employee is a government employee. And his job is probably to make sure the jail is safe more than fix me. And I learned that. I told him there was one inmate who was bullying me, a guy that was much bigger than me, he was about 250 pounds. And I actually got a rock. I smuggled a rock into the jail out of the yard. And I nailed him in the sock with that. And he never ratted. And a couple other inmates who saw it never ratted, and it actually had the desired effect. We had peace. So maybe it wasn't even a bad thing given the circumstances. I wasn't trying to start the fight. But anyways, I told the psychiatrist that I assaulted this guy with a rock. And then I told him I had all these thoughts of murder in my head. And he listened to me very nicely, and when I left, I thought, you know, I'm on my treatment plan. I'm getting fixed.